The Dutch Grand Prix was supposed to be a chance for Carlos Sainz to show Williams' true pace, but instead it exploded into one of the most dramatic storylines of the season. A fierce clash with rookie Liam Lawson left Sainz fuming, his race destroyed and his patience shattered. What followed was nothing short of explosive. Over the team radio and later in front of the cameras, Sainz unleashed a tirade that stunned the paddock, torching the FIA stewards and even hinting at how he'll deal with Lawson in the future. What Sainz just said to Williams after this disastrous Dutch GP is absolutely insane, and it might just change the way he races from now on. What unfolded was more than just a racing incident. It was the spark that ignited one of Sainz's fiercest outbursts against Formula One's governing body. The FIA stewards branded him the villain, slapping a 10-second penalty on the Williams driver, a punishment Sainz furiously dismissed as a complete joke. His fury spilled out in raw criticism, a rare glimpse of a driver openly taking on the authority of race officials. Lap 26, turn 1, the scene of destruction. Fresh from a safety car restart, the battle between Sainz and Lawson turned ugly in an instant. Both drivers tangled side by side, and the brutal aftermath was undeniable. Punctures for both cars, a slow crawl back to the pits, and the promise of points vanishing into thin air. For Sainz, the blow cut even deeper as his teammate Alex Albon surged to a brilliant 5th place, proving the FW47 had the speed to shine. Instead of celebrating alongside him, Sainz's afternoon ended in agony, classified 13th and stripped of the reward his pace deserved. What was supposed to be a statement drive became a bitter reminder of how quickly fortune can twist into disaster. Sainz's fury boiled over the moment the penalty came through his radio. His voice, sharp and cutting, erupted across the airwaves. "It's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life." That raw disbelief only hardened into anger as he stepped in front of the cameras, no longer holding back. With a glare that could scorch steel, he broke down the moment that ended his race. "I wasn't even really trying to race Liam that hard," he admitted. "I had a gap around the outside and thought, okay, I'll just put him a little out of position for turn 2 and 3. I wasn't trying to pass him there. Then suddenly we had contact and it completely caught me off guard." He was quick to highlight the absurdity. Zandvoort's turn 1 had already delivered wheel-to-wheel fights earlier in the day, battles that ended clean and fair. It is quite clear how many examples we've seen of two cars racing there without contact, Sainz argued, his voice edged with scorn. "It's a corner that allows close racing, but with Liam, it always seems to be difficult. He prefers to risk a puncture or a DNF, rather than accept two cars going side by side." The Spaniard did not stop there. He turned the spotlight on Lawson's inexperience, painting him as reckless in the heat of battle. "Hopefully it comes with more experience because right now he's putting too many points on the line with unnecessary maneuvers," he warned. For Sainz, this was not just a penalty. It was a statement that the stewards had turned a blind eye to the growing problem of a rookie willing to gamble with everything on the table. Yet, it was not the clash itself, but the punishment that truly lit the fuse. Sainz could hardly mask his disgust as he tore into the ruling. "To get a 10-second penalty for it, I think it's a complete joke," he declared, his words laced with the venom of a man who felt wronged on every level. But this was not just the anger of a driver robbed of points. It was the outrage of a Grand Prix Drivers Association director, questioning the very credibility of Formula One's officiating. "Honestly, I need to go now to the stewards just to get an explanation," he pressed. "If they really consider this a 10-second penalty, then it's not the level of stewarding that Formula One deserves." His tone may have been measured, but the weight of his words carried a thunderous warning. Sainz framed the penalty as part of a deeper rot, inconsistency in the way the sport is policed. "I'm talking calmly and trying to pick my words carefully, but what I've seen today is concerning not just for me, but for the other drivers and for motorsport in general," he said, a statement that resonated far beyond the Zandvoort paddock. For Sainz, the pain was sharpened by a familiar sting. 2025 has become a season of missed opportunities, and this race was just another cruel entry in that story. With a heavy sigh, he admitted, "It's the story of my season. Again a race where I could have finished P5 like Alex, 10 points, and it's gone for something I cannot understand. understand. It's out of our hands. Once again, glory slipped through his fingers not because of pace or mistakes, but because of decisions made in a room he could not control. The Dutch Grand Prix became yet another cruel chapter in a season that seems determined to test Carlos Sainz's patience. For all of Williams' progress and flashes of promise, his own campaign has been weighed down by misfortune and circumstance. Albon was able to showcase the FW47's bite with a hard-earned top-5 finish, while Sainz, through no fault of raw pace, was once again left staring at an empty scorecard. What made this weekend sting even more was Sainz's chilling hint that his patience with Lawson may soon wear thin. "You need to pick your battles," he said pointedly, his words carrying the sharp edge of warning. Probably Liam in his first year has chosen a bit of a crash or no overtake approach. That's something I'll keep in mind. It was less a reflection and more a promise that next time Sainz would remember, and Lawson might not find the fight so forgiving. And so, the Dutch dunes echoed not just with the roar of engines but with the blast of Sainz's fury. What began as a collision at turn 1 had evolved into something larger. A driver once regarded as one of the paddock's calmer statesmen turning into judge, jury and executioner. He tore into the steward's decision with words as sharp as any verdict, and in that moment there was no trace of humour, only the sound of a man who felt wronged by the very system meant to uphold fairness. Formula One pours billions into technology that can track the faintest tyre scrub, measure the weight of a car to the gram, and police track limits with hawk-eyed cameras. Yet when two cars brush wheels in the heat of battle, the verdict spirals into a farce. For Carlos Sainz, this was no grey area. He painted Liam Lawson as the reckless rookie, charging with a crash-or-bust mentality. But his own fury, spat through clenched teeth, carried less of the gravitas of a GPDA director, and more the tone of a man slapped with a speeding fine he swears he never earned. It is not just Sainz who has grown tired of the roulette wheel of justice. Drivers across the grid have long demanded the professionalisation of stewarding, frustrated that the role is treated as a grace and favour post rather than a permanent accountable position. The FIA president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, has dangled the possibility of a rotating panel of full-time stewards. Yet when the Grand Prix Drivers Association pressed the issue last November, his answer cut like a smirk across the paddock. "It's very nice talk," he fired back. "But when they say professional, and they want professional, they don't want to pay for it. That is so obvious. They talk and then they say, 'Where are you putting the money? Why we don't do this?' But I don't say, 'Oh, sorry, what about you? The drivers are getting over $100 million. Do I ask where they spend it? No, it's up to them. It's their right." His dismissal grew even sharper, almost mocking. "So please, it's not only me saying it is none of their business. We do whatever we do with our money. It's our business. It's also the same with them and their money. It's their business." It was a retort that sounded less like the considered words of motorsport's highest authority and more like a playground taunt politics, when the sport cries out for consistency and credibility. And if Ben Sulayem's tone is anything to go by, the storm over stewarding is nowhere near a resolution. Do you think Sainz was unfairly punished by the stewards, or was the 10-second penalty completely justified? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, goodbye for now.